I grew up in a neighborhood that had its fair share of violence. So I know what it feels like to feel unsafe. And I think the most important job of any mayor, in any city in the country, but especially like a city like Los Angeles, is to make sure that all Angelinos just don't feel safe, but in fact are safe. And that our LAPD officers treat everybody, regardless of your zip code, with dignity and respect. Now, I can say this is that, a lot of folks can come forward and talk about hiring thousands of more police officers. But before we even had that conversation, we need to get our own house in order. And as mayor of the great city of Los Angeles, the first thing I have to do is make sure that we utilize in a much more effective and efficient manner our resources so we can maximize our dollars in such a way that we can focus on preventing as well as solving crimes. Two, I'd hire mental health specialists, which are so critical because I don't want our LAPD officers on the mental health front lines. I want them dealing, with crimes. I want them to be back on the line of duty. At any given moment, we can have LAPD officers dealing with someone who perhaps is half naked, having a psychotic breakdown, on any street in Los Angeles. I don't want them there because at that precise moment, there's someone who's a victim of gun violence, or there's a small mom and pop store or restaurant that has just been robbed, or a personal residential, neighborhood has just been burglarized. I want to utilize our officers in a much more effective manner, which is critical. I want to make sure that we professionalize our LAPD reserves so we can utilize them in a much more effective manner. I don't want to utilize our LAPD reserves to be putting orange cones and directing traffic when we have an event at LA Live or elsewhere. I want them on the streets, and whether that is dealing, for example, on Spring Street or Main Street, whether it is on Ventura Boulevard or Lancashire, whether it's on Melrose or our very own Chinatown or Koreatown, where we see a lot of API hate taking place because of our Asian American communities throughout the great city of Los Angeles. I want to utilize our police officers in a much more effective manner where we see the trends and where we see the hot spots throughout the city of LA. The spike in crime, and we see the trends, are not unique to Los Angeles. They're happening throughout the state of California. They're happening throughout the country. But when you are a victim of a crime, it is something that feels very unique, very individualized, something that's deeply personal when you have been attacked, when you have been assaulted, when you have been robbed. And that's why we have to better utilize our resources in a much more effective manner. Listen, we can talk about, throwing numbers out there from 1,500 to 250. This is not a game of the price is right, where folks are just throwing out numbers without any data as to what demonstrates effective policing throughout the city of LA, but more effectively in Koreatown, in Chinatown, in Little Tokyo, in Thai Town, in Filipino Town, in Little Bangladeshi. These 5 community areas of API community members are the areas that I had the honor to represent when I was your leader of your California State Senate. And I've always stood strongly in solidarity, but the tensions have heightened even more so, and the racial crimes incredibly so. And we have seen such a huge exponential rise in hate crimes against our API community members, but the majority of them are happening within the city limits of Los Angeles. That's why we have to be in high alert. And that's why we need to have a physical presence of our LAPD officers. And that's how we better utilize the current resources that we have today if we're going to send a very clear message that API hate won't be tolerated, won't be accepted in the city of angels. We know it's happening, and that's why as leader, you have to set the tone and culture. And if given the opportunity, I believe I'll be the first Latino Asian in the history of the city of LA to lead this great city. I know we tried at one time with then Councilmember Michael Wu, who attempted to become the first Chinese American, first Asian American to become leader of this great city. He came up short, obviously, but now this is another opportunity to make sure we have someone who understands what our API communities are going through every single day.